Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. A couple updates for the DCEU is apparently Aquaman DC collectibles apparently leaked, and I'll put the little source in that YouTube video in my description. This is coming from DCU movie page, and I gotta say, wow, those look pretty fantastic. I mean, Black Manta, the helmet actually looks a lot better than what was shown in that Entertainment Weekly. So I'm guessing this is the real deal. That's what it's going to look like. That looks fantastic. Aquaman is actually sporting very similar to his comic counterpart with the yellow and gold and a darker green bottom with even his gloves are green. I'm thinking he's gonna probably have multiple suits in this, and this is probably one of the later suits in there. He also does have a trident this time, an actual three-prong trident. So that is very peculiar, and I'm really ready to see what that is in James Wan's Aquaman. Mara, of course, we've seen before many times. It says she's now got her crown back. She is definitely sporting a different costume from her Justice League counterpart, and her hair is very red in this one. So the colors in here are probably more along the lines that we'll probably see in the movie. So it is very nice. It looks great. I mean, I can't wait to see the underwater battles and stuff. I'm really excited for this movie coming in December so far, yet not really. I mean, it's the only movie, as we know, that's coming out this year for the DC Extended Universe, and I can't wait to see what that's about. I mean, it looks like and sounds like it's going to be some epic stuff, but we're going to know real soon how excited we should really be when it comes out in a trailer form at San Diego Comic-Con, which is really only, oh my God, it's next weekend. Can you imagine? It's next Saturday. That we're that close to seeing the trailer for Aquaman, and of course the trailer for Shazam as well, and possibly a first look, some type of first look, maybe a teaser or just a couple pictures, or what Cheetah looks like in Wonder Woman 1984. So I'm really excited about that. Now, this video is mainly gonna be about these quote unquote scoopers, sources, people who have sources, and I want to really get ahead of what they've said and how it has affected people on Twitter, affected people in my own comments, affected people out there in general, and like trying to get down to where is all this stuff coming from, all these information about how all of a sudden all these people are attacking people like Jay Oliva, who actually worked on the movie, and all these other fandom, how we don't know any better, and they're like saying things that are seemingly factual, like there's just storyboards, there's temp music, the movie cost $70 million to finish, things like that, and where is the actual anger coming from? So I just went back in time and I tried to find as much as I could about the material, and it really helped having Stephen Colbert wrote an article on Screen Rant. He called it the Snyder Cut Movement Explained, and I love Stephen Colbert. Thank you so much for being part of the Snyder Cut movement in a way. He has written positively about it, and he really goes into factual details about this. So I'm really want you guys to check this out. I'll put the description on the article link in the description, and there always comes to that when you go into reading this, and it gets to the part where it's about when it comes to most media sources, the line is that the Snyder cut doesn't exist. This may be true that there's not a cut that's finished and ready for theaters, although some people would say the same of the actual theatrical cut of Justice League. But thanks to reporting from many of these very same sources, we know that there is a Snyder Cut, so we can only assume that when they say it doesn't exist, they simply mean 100% completed and ready to distribute. Snyder Cut doesn't exist, even though they were probably the very ones who have said that. Could they possibly be? I was trying to find Umberto Gonzalez, El Mayimbe's tweet from long ago about Snyder Cut doesn't exist, although there's so many replies about that. and it's a pipe dream and things like that. So if you guys can find that, let me know. I did not have time to look for that. I know John Campea for a fact said Snyder Cut does not exist. His producer friends told him so, and that was shortly after the Justice League theatrical, around November and December of 2017. Well, we also got one from our good friend Jeremy Conrad at Monobyte, who said the movie doesn't exist, period. Warner Brothers isn't going to spend more than, here goes, $70 million to finish a cut of the movie they hated so much they wanted to fire Snyder over. They have an assembly cut with some effects and temp music. They need to finish all the CG, the score, and film more. So obviously, a lot of that information about 70, the words, exact number, 70 million to finish a cut of a movie. A movie doesn't exist. It all stems from these, quote unquote, scoopers, quote unquote, source people, even though they've been wrong for a time. So this is their own speculation, and they've brought it into the fandom and brought it into the Twitter world, and people pass it around, and it all of a sudden became some type of factual evidence, some type of factual knowledge that people spew out, not remembering or not sure where they heard it from. So there you go. There is your source. You want to know where people got $70 million to finish a cut? It's this guy right here who does not actually quite know. Okay, does not actually quite know. We'll go into that a little bit. But so Jeremy Conrad said this, 70 million. So when you hear 70 million, remember where that came from. Remember where that came from. The movie doesn't exist, period. Remember where that came from. Okay, even John Campea said movie doesn't exist, period. And that was all during that time, November. So this guy, he wrote it in January of 2018. January 4th of 2018, right? What happened back in November 29, 2017, around the time that Justice League was released, around the time there was producer friends and stuff like that? Well, El Maimbe, Umberto Gonzalez, put out an exclusive article about how Justice League became a Frankenstein for the rap. And I'm reading this, and it sounds really cool. I remember reading about it, and I'm like, oh my God, all this isn't true and stuff like that. But when you read on it further, when you actually read through it, there are some statements that are made, but a lot of his material in these are quoted saying, an insider said, an insider said this, insider said this. And he's really quick to put down certain things, like Silverman declined to comment. Okay, so remember, when you're reading, go ahead and read this again. I'll link it in the description. Go inside it. You'll see these little quotes, but they're really from insiders. And then you'll see a little sentence say, Silverman declined to comment. Warner Brothers declined comment for this story. Declined comment. Declined comment. Okay? Remember that. This is an exclusive article from Mr. Umberto Gonzalez, our ace scooper. And he's saying decline comment. Things like that. Okay? Then you go into an article from Variety, January 9th of 2018. You don't see any decline comments in here. No. You see certain people like Toby Emmerich and whatever made a statement to Variety. Variety again in exclusive. Brent Lang, December 7th of 2017. DC shakeup in the works after Justice League stumbles. Exclusive. Okay. This is something that John approached me about 6 months ago. Blah, blah, blah. Warner Brothers Picture Group President Toby Emmerich said in a statement to Variety. You're looking through this. Look through this article. It does not say Warner Brothers declined to comment. It does not say any of that. Nothing. There's nothing about, they would not say anything about that story. You go to Umberto Gonzalez's other article about Sue Crow, when they said that Sue Crow hated hated superheroes and stuff like that. She declined. She said that's not that's not factual. But they went on with the story anyway. That's what their insider says. So you see all these Umberto articles and for the rap exclusives, and then you realize that all of them are says that his insider, who has not named, of course, insiders don't ever name their sources and stuff like that. This is from the insider. These are not facts. These are from a person that's could possibly or not possibly inside there. When Warner Brothers themselves have declined to comment on Umberto Gonzalez story. Okay? Now you go back to Mr. El Mayimbe, who graciously asked about the Snyder Cut. Okay? You go back to his words and says that DC fans, even though I was embarrassed to do so, I asked officially yet again about a Justice League Snyder Cut and it got deaded. Sorry, but it ain't happening. Deaded. What is the definition of deaded? Lacking feeling or sensitivity, numb or unresponsive. Passersby were dead to our pleas for help. Unresponsive. Deaded. It ain't happening. Could that also mean Warner Brothers declined to comment when Umberto Gonzalez asked? Does that mean the speculation, his insiders, and everybody who has said certain things are factual or not factual? Who knows? Also, Umberto Gonzalez, January 22nd of 2017. Also, of all places, ran into two different sources here at Sundance. One saw Wonder Woman first cut, the other Justice League. They tell me good things about each. Yeah, there was no Snyder Cut. Yeah, there is no Snyder Cut. Although he finally recanted and says, assembly cut. So much hate, and that's what we kind of know. I mean, how much has the cut, how finished is it? How much is it done? And that's where we get into how complete is the Snyder Cut that Stephen M. Colbert had put on his Screen Rant article. So first we know Snyder completed 100% of his principal photography. That's not contested. Second, we know Snyder presented a cut of the movie to Warner Brothers executives. There's been some debate over whether or not it was an assembly cut, but given it was being screened, it was likely further along than that. Probably closer to a director's cut with unfinished VFX, temp music, and an incomplete audio mixing. Third, Snyder posted a video of an Aquaman VFX shot from Scanline VFX with a label for final approval and a February 2017 date stamp. This hardly speaks to the status of the VFX as a whole, but at least some scenes had 100% completed VFX work. Fourth, Snyder posted an image of him working on a shot of Batman with Stefan Sonnenfeld of Company 3, who does digital intermediary, aka color timing. This stage of post-production is typically one of the last steps in the process, and at the very least is usually done after picture lock is achieved, meaning he had a complete edit of all the scenes he intended to include in the theatrical cut. Fifth, Snyder posted an image of Gal Gadot doing ADR, automated dialogue replacement, meaning again, picture lock had been achieved and sound mixing was taking place, which is typically one of the last stages of post-production. So of all this, we don't know exactly how far along, but we know it's pretty much almost the very end of post-production. Okay? The very end of post-production. We're not really sure how long Tom Hokenberg, aka Junkie XL soundtrack, has been. We know he's been suggested as being worked on, even collaborated on the Come Together cover with Gary Clark Jr. We don't know how much is along. although we can kind of try to get a feel of how long it has been from what Jay Oliva has revealed, that he has done some sound work during the process of principal photography as well. We're not sure if that's completely true or not, but it's coming from Jay. So here's the thing. Your facts are here. What are your facts? What are people spewing at you? What are people attacking you with when people said the Snyder Cut exists? Right now, there are still people that says a Snyder Cut doesn't exist. Well, that's not true. Okay, it does exist. Then it comes back, well, but it's not finished. It's going to cost $70 million to finish. That number came from Monobyte. Jeremy Conrad, a scooper. I don't know what he does. He's a blogger from a site. That was his own speculation. He did not get that from anything. He did not name any sources for that. Warner Brothers has not said anything. Umberto Gonzalez also said it's this assembly cut. We're looking at all the information here from what has been said. Larry Fong even said what kind of gave us a hint of where the production is at. It's past a long assembly cut. If you go into, and I'll probably put down here, okay, I'm going to post this link in the description as well. And it's a do-it-yourself filmmaking sucks. So this was back in 2010. Phases of editing: assembly, rough cut, fine cut, pick lock. Assembly edit, this is the first stage of the editing process. The footage from your shoot is organized into scenes, usually by an assistant editor. Then all scenes are assembled roughly with the editor's choices on takes. No music or effects are included. Then there's the rough cut. The editor replaces takes as needed based on a director's notes. The assembled film is reviewed and scenes dialogue removed in order to get the film to an appropriate length based on what works and doesn't work. Pickups are added, as well as music and story critical sound effects. If time allows, editor may make another pass at addressing notes. At this stage, before beginning Final Cut, the assistant editor or someone should check to make sure all the sync sound is in correctly and synced. It's not uncommon, particularly with the red, which we use for 80% of the film, for sound being recorded at the wrong rate, so it slips out of sync, particularly for longer takes. Fine cut. Another round of director's notes are addressed. If you need visual effects, you begin farming out effects and adding in rough versions of effects shots as they come in. Finalize music. Make sure you're working with music that has been cleared or is impossible to clear. You might screen for friends to get feedback. Overall, you eliminate any other extraneous scenes or lines of dialogue and fix anything else that isn't working. Now is the time to record any remaining ADR. Re-record dialogue before beginning pick lock. Pick lock. As Sharon says, here is where the frame effing begins. We work to get the film as tight as possible, going over it with a fine-tooth comb. All effects are finalized and incorporated into the cut. Additional sound work is done. As necessary, the director and editor will be working closely together to make sure all notes are addressed and the director is happy with the film. Of course, in a film situation, it could be jumping all around, okay? But let's take into the fact that this is how it's actually done. We go from assembly edit to a rough cut to a fine cut. Fine cut has ADR in it. Where does that sound familiar? ADR. That was when Gal Gadot was doing ADR. There was ADR there. Pick lock. That was the time when in the Screen Rant article, and we've seen Larry Fong talk about it. I know you've seen them talk about it and things like that, where Snyder posted an image of him working on a shot of Batman with Stefan Sonnenfeld of Company 3, who does digital intermediary. The stage of post-production is typically one of the last steps in the process, and at the very least is usually done after picture lock is achieved, meaning he had a complete edit of all the scenes. So you're looking at this. Pick lock during the final editing. This at least can tell you and show you that it has gone past the point of assembly cut. Has passed the point of assembly cut. So when Umberto Gonzalez tells you what we're looking for is roughly an assembly cut, is possibly completely wrong. Judging from the evidence that we have here, and that's what we're looking at, evidence, with factual evidence, not spewing hate from other scoopers, from bloggers. And why are they doing that? Could it possibly they just trying to protect their credibility as a scooper, to protect their credibility as able to get sources and have sources, whoever these sources are? Could that possibly be why they're so angry and possibly offended if the Snyder Cut comes out? Will they try to spin it how it comes down to something else? I don't know how they would spin it, but would they spin that to protect themselves, protect their credibility? That is very interesting in itself. It all it's all very interesting because online, even on Twitter, all these people are spewing what they seem to be factual evidence are actually coming from scoopers, coming from actual bloggers who claim they have sources. That's all it's coming from, all these facts. 70 million, assembly cut, not finished. They even name call. Yes, Jeremy Conrad has pretty much bullied the fandom when people are signing petition. They've instigated that hate, and that hate has turned into a disease for people to come out, even though it's not in their interest at all to see the Snyder Cut, but there's in their so-called weird interest to actually tell people that it shouldn't come out, and hate on people that want it, when it's not even in their interest. It's very, very confusing and very sad. But that's how it is. So the facts are there. Warner Brothers declined to make a statement. Warner Brothers is not making a statement. They are very much silent. Even Grace Randolph today, who seems apparently to know a lot about the Snyder Cut, and who knows if she does. We know she's been talking with those VFX people from before and things like that for Batman v Superman and even Justice League. But who knows? She is quite a little bit disturbed by the Wall Street Journal, according to her Twitch live feed today. And I was also concerned as well. I'm a little bit on the positive side because I care to be more optimistic. But she is in her own right to be pessimistic about a lot of things, and that is her own opinion on that matter. But it seems like she does know that there's something about the Snyder Cut. And she also confirms that the Snyder Cut, the Wall Street Journal article, will be released around the time of San Diego Comic-Con, which the reporter has told me himself. And so we're looking at all this. And we've got a whole bunch of information. We just don't know how to process it, right? And so people are spewing things back and forth, non-factual information. But here are the straight facts once again. Once again, here are the straight facts. The very producer friends who worked on Justice League that John Campea had said, where they told John Campea himself, and I believe they told him what he asked, and they told him what they could tell him at that time in order to protect their best interests. Those producer friends were probably none other than Jeff Johns and John Berg, and possibly Toby Emmerich and whoever's in that industry at that time who was part of the production team of Justice League, the Joss Whedon cut that we saw in theaters. And at that time in November, that's probably the narrative they want every single blogger and scooper to spin, to say that that was the movie they shot, to protect their interest. In fact, they even had a newspaper article right about that Zack Snyder chose Joss Whedon to make to do pickups. We all know that's dishonest. We all know that was wrong. We all know that was a lie. That narrative could still be hold dear here. That's the only thing that all these bloggers know was from that narrative, was from those producers that gave some statements to actually said about what's happening in Warner Brothers and what happened with that. What have they said after that statement? Nothing. What have Warner Brothers said after that huge shakeup that Variety had reported on, and all the different little mini shakeups that have happened since then? Our producer friends, John Berg, is gone. He's moved on to a different project, the Lego world, if you will. Jeff Johns is out of Warner Brothers. So out of Warner Brothers payroll, his studio may be in there, but he's making his own stuff. He's writing his own films now. He's writing contracted for Warner Brothers, making exclusively only DC film projects, writing and possibly producing. But he's not the head anymore. He's no longer president. Kevin Tsujihara stepped aside from day-to-day activities, and Toby Emmerich is now chairman. Sue Kroll, gone. Diane Nelson, gone. There's a lot of change up here from that original narrative that told John Campbell that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. Okay, so that's done. That's gone. It's also around the time that Jeremy Conrad said it doesn't exist. That's the last thing they've heard from Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers failed and declined to make a statement to Umberto Gonzalez. That's the last thing he's heard. His insiders maybe have also heard the same thing. Nothing. Silence. There was also reports that Walter Hamada was really doing a really tight ship. He's really closing in. He's really closing all the leaks here. And that seems to be true. Only giving the opportunity for some medias, some bloggers, big ones, the top trades, Variety, the Hollywood Reporter, these guys, and possibly the Wall Street Journal. Those are the facts. They have not said how much of Justice League has been done. They have not said how much it's going to cost to finish Justice League if they are going to finish Justice League Snyder Cut. They have not even acknowledged that there's a Snyder Cut coming or not coming. They have not said a thing. And that's why we're really looking forward to the Wall Street Journal article. Are they going to reach out to Warner Brothers? Did Warner Brothers reach out to them in order to make this statement, in order to tell us what is going on, finally, what's happening, set it all to rest, all these different speculation, hate speak, even teasing from the bloggers themselves, who's very been pretty rude about it. Jay Oliva backing us up, backing this release the Snyder Cut movement. All the actors and actresses backing the Snyder Cut movement. Even the production team also backing the Snyder Cut movement. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen on the week of San Diego Comic-Con? But at least we'll be getting, hopefully, at least we'll be getting some official statements from reputable media, from reputable trades, from people who actually try to go out and find those facts, then make articles based on insider information, ones that they have to put in. Warner Brothers declined to comment. So and so declined to comment. So and so said that was wrong. They won't have to do that because they're going to get statements straight from Warner Brothers, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and maybe now Wall Street Journal as well. That's what we should be waiting for instead of listening to scoopers and stuff. They've been wrong before. They have totally been wrong before. Remember when James Gunn fought with Umberto Gonzalez? He ended up being wrong. I don't know if he apologized. I wonder if he did. I have to look into that. But so remain optimistic and let's wait to hear some actual official news, actual official statements. I'm just telling you, stuff that you hear, don't always jump to conclusions. And for people who are spewing out these facts, those aren't facts at all. Those are also conjectures. So that's why I really like the Screen Rant article, because he gets right down to what we actually do know. And a lot of it is almost nothing, right? Even the Snyder Cut, is Zack Snyder working on Snyder Cut for 7 months now? Is that rumor? We don't know. No one's telling us. Snyder is not telling us. He has posted some interesting things. Does that mean he's working on it? But we do know this, that Zack Snyder, if he wanted to, legally can work on Justice League without Warner Brothers' permission. He just cannot release that film without Warner Brothers' permission. That is the last thing we know right now. All right. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.